Hey guys, I want to do a video about my favorite economist. His name is Henry George, and this is his 1879 uh, manifesto. It's called Progress and Poverty. And in this book, what he attempts to do is he has this inquiry into the causes of poverty, more specifically, how poverty is is perpetuated and sometimes even made worse amidst great economic progress and wealth creation. And he was writing at the height of the Industrial Revolution, uh, and he had lived in on the East Coast in Pennsylvania where that Industrial Revolution was happening. And yeah, if you ever read Charles Dickens or whatnot, you can understand what some of the consequences of that Industrial Revolution were. But he wrote this book in California, San Francisco, which at the time was the Wild West. And so what he found was in the Wild West, they didn't have all these luxuries that were available. There wasn't as much wealth being produced, but people weren't starving and sending their children to work in sweatshops like they were on the East. And so what he found was that the reason for this, basically what it came down to, was land. As you see, as production is increased, as society sort of advances, it increases land values, because it's found that land values are created not by the individual owning them or by any individual really. They're actually collectively created. Land values reflect social wealth. And so, say you bought a vacant piece of land and then sort of a city springs up around it. You don't have to build anything on that land. You don't have to lift a finger. And that land value is going to shoot up immensely. And by the time you sell that land, you'll have earned a huge profit, which you did absolutely nothing to earn. And so this surplus of land, the profit produced of it, is called rent, and it is by definition unearned income. So let's look at production. The difference in production between the most valuable land and the least valuable land. Let's compare. So say you had a company in New York and a company in, say, Kansas. Now, suppose these companies have the same amount of workers, the same boss, the same kind of boss. They're basically doing the same quality of work. The business in New York is going to make a lot more money because it's got all these ports. It's got it's a center of commerce in a way that Kansas just couldn't be. And so the business in New York earns a surplus through no effort of their own. They're working exactly the same, but they just earn that surplus by virtue of being in the right place. Now, what that company is going to do is they're going to pay their employees the same as the company in Kansas, because companies want to save profit. They want to get good at what they can. I mean, there may be some little different, some small regional differences, but they're definitely not going to be as big a difference as the difference in profit they're making. So the least valuable land is called the margin of production, and wages are set at the margin of production. So even as all this wealth around you is increasing and land values are getting more expensive, making it making living expenses more expensive, the wage worker is getting left behind further and further, and they're finding that they get a smaller and smaller share of the pie. But what's interesting is that capital also gets a smaller share of the pie, which is contrary to what Marx believes. Marx saw this sort of combative relationship between labor and capital, No, I mean, which was true in the sense that the capital owners had conflicting interests with laborers, but um, the actual investments in capital and labor are positively correlated. Uh, to invest in a factory, in machinery, or what have you, you also need to invest in laborers to work on those things. And uh, you can't increase your investment in one too much before you increase your investment in the other. So you may wonder, well, why do we see these record company profits while workers are getting screwed? And the answer is that rent gets counted in profits. And it can be tricky because the rent you receive may not actually be from your land. It's a matter of the fact that because rent is social, just by uh, just by being in some sort of privileged position, even if you rent your office space, you're earning rent by virtue of uh, getting this social surplus. And so what happens as rent increases is it becomes more profitable to invest in land uh, and sort of be idle with it rather than increasing our investment in workers and laborers. And meanwhile, the workers are being sort of more and more marginalized because the land values are increasing. It's getting harder for them to own a home or rent a home, and they're not getting hired because it's more profitable to invest in land, and so it creates this sort of bubble, like we saw with the housing bubble, where investors and companies do sort of cut back on production and earn their money in unproductive ways. And this bubble eventually has to burst because eventually society needs production to commence again. So basically what happens is investment in labor and capital gets crowded out by investments in land and natural resources and more recently in things like derivatives and other non-productive speculations. But that's for another video. So yeah, I hope I've sort of conveyed the sense in which land plays a prominent role in creating inequalities and instability in the economy. So in my next video, I'm going to talk about what Henry George proposed to do about this, and how we can solve poverty and create a more sustainable and prosperous economy. So, till then, bye.